Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dimensions and Travels event on walking the Camino in Spain. This is the 26th in our travel agency series of virtual events about intriguing destinations and unique ways to experience them. My name is Diana St. James, and I am one of the owners of Dimensions and Travel along with Joe Romano. And we have been in business since 1978, and we intend to be in business for many more years to come. We have 28 travel advisors who all miss traveling very much, and we know you all do too. These virtual events are a wonderful way for us to go somewhere while we wait to safely travel again. And we think that they help keep the spirit of travel alive in all of us. Before we get started, I want to cover a couple of housekeeping points. You're all in listen-only mode, so your microphones are muted. And if you'd like to turn off your video cameras, please go ahead and do that, and it'll help us minimize any distractions. You can ask questions through the chat box down below at the bottom, and we'll be facilitating a Q&A at the end. But you can type your questions in at any time. And finally, I want to let you know we are recording this presentation, so you will be getting a link to it afterwards if you want to be able to forward it to other friends and family. We'd like you to do that. We love sharing. So during today's walk on the Camino, we will be talking about the history of St. James, the different routes that you can walk, and the options for how to do it and how to prepare to do it. But before we get started, I want to introduce my business partner and agency co-owner, Jill Romano. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Diana. Hi, everybody.
Jill, I'll go ahead and admit people.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I am so pleased today to welcome our guest speaker, Karen Wong, who is our business development manager for the Globus family of brands. We've been working with Karen for over 14 years now, and her knowledge of the wonderful travel opportunities for all of you with Globus, Cosmos, Avalon, and Monograms, combined with her personal travel experiences, continue to be a vital partnership for us. Through in-person and now virtual training, most often including access to Avalon Waterways cruise directors, tour directors, guides from Globus and Monograms and Cosmos, she supported our team at Dimensions and Travel and helping us select just the right trip for you. Today, we're going to start this off a little bit differently. I'm going to turn things back over to Diana, who's going to start us on our journey of the Camino, and then Karen will join us and share one of the wonderful trips with Cosmos. So I'll turn it back over to Diana. Thank you.
Okay, great. All righty. Get my screen share set up here. There we go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. And if we were walking the French Camino today, my greeting to you would be the traditional Bon Camino. It means have a good way, not have a good day, but have a good way. And if you were on the Portuguese Camino, you would be saying Bon Caminho. Walking the pilgrimage routes, it has been a journey that has been happening for over 1,000 years. And my interest comes from doing the Camino, first of all, because of my married last name, which is St. James. So, of course, I've always wondered, why are all these people walking on a path with my name on it? I love to walk. And the other thing is that St. James and I almost have the same birthday. His birthday was July 25th, and mine is July 26th. And I know that seems kind of silly, but actually, the date of a saint's birthday is going to become more important later on in our presentation. So I'll leave that to Karen to share that with you. Well, you can walk on these routes, and there are almost 1,000 miles of the Camino that you can walk. But the last 100 kilometers is what is required to complete a true pilgrimage. And if you do it by bicycle, you must ride at least 200 kilometers or 124 miles to complete the pilgrimage. I've heard the same thing is true with horseback. You must ride 200 kilometers. I have never heard of anyone doing it by horseback, but those are the rules set by the church. All the pilgrimages end in Santiago de Compostela, but you decide where you want to start and how far back you want to begin. So just to give you an idea of what this routing looks like, move my pictures out of the way here. You can start up in Norway and do the pilgrimage. You can start in Budapest. You can start in Rome. You could start over in London. You can start in Paris. In fact, at Notre Dame is a starting point for some pilgrims to begin this. But most people do these there you go, catching up with me here, do these 6 routes in order to be able to be a part of the Camino. And when you look at the way these 6 routes are laid out, and then you look at the symbol for the Camino, it is this seashell, the scallop shell with all of the routes leading towards Santiago de Compostela. So hence the map that we've got here. So the yellow line is the French way, and that starts at the French-Spanish border, and that's the route that most people do. It's 800 kilometers or about 500 miles if you're going to do the long French route. There's also the purple route, the Portuguese route, and you can see over here, it goes inland, and then there's a coastal route leading into Santiago de Compostela. There's the blue route in the north that leads you through areas like San Sebastian before making your way into Santiago de Compostela. The Via de la Plata, which begins down towards Seville, and you make your way inland up there. La Puy Camino, which starts over near Lyon, and you walk through 3 national parks before you connect up with the French way and make your way in. And finally, there's a little route here at the end. It is over 100 kilometers, so it is considered an official pilgrimage, but it goes from the sea to Santiago de Compostela, the Finisterre way. And some people do like to add that on at the end of their route. But the most common way, as I mentioned, is the French route. And it begins in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port in France. It is 800 kilometers or about 500 miles. And most people walk about 10 to 15 miles per day. And that breaks out into about 34 stages all along the route before you get to Santiago de Compostela. People generally do it in about 30 to 45 days, but it depends on how far you want to walk each day. There is no time limit. You don't have to finish within a certain time period. You can take a rest day. But I do want to point out Saria in here on the route. This is where the 100-kilometer mark works. And so if you're going to do an official pilgrimage, you have to start at least at Saria on the French route. You can start as far back as you want to, but you do need to at least go through Saria to begin with. So who is St. James, and why is this path named after him, and why is it in Spain? Well, if I want to take you back to the 12 apostles, we've got 2 Jameses actually. There is James the Greater, and there's James the Lesser, which apparently means James the Greater was either taller or older than James the Lesser. So we've got James, who is on the shore of the Sea of Galilee with his brother Zebedee, his father Zebedee and his brother John and some other fishermen. And they were lamenting the fact that they hadn't caught any fish that day when a stranger appears on the shore, Jesus, and encourages them to go fishing again and to dip their nets in the water. And when they did, they found their nets to be full. And after that, James and his brother John became believers, fishers of men, and they went on to become a part of the inner circle of Jesus, attending him and witnessing his miracles. When Jesus was crucified, the apostles kind of split up and did some spreading of the gospel. And James went to Hispania, northern Spain. Now you see how we're getting to St. James to spread the gospel. But while he was in Spain, a vision of the Virgin Mary appeared to him, told him that she was going to be dying, and asked him to return to Jerusalem. He did return, but regretfully caught the eye of Herod, who had never liked James. And while James was there, he charged him with heresy and beheaded him. Now, legend says that his body was transported from Jerusalem by 2 disciples in a boat led by angels back to northern Spain. Oops, sorry. Getting my pages set up here. His body was buried in a field where it would be discovered 8 centuries later by peasants who saw a strange light in the starry sky that guided them to a tomb, the tomb of St. James. King Alfonso of Spain erected a small chapel on this location and then later built the larger church that became a cathedral. This was the beginning of the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, which means St. James in a field of stars, Compostela. King Alfonso's goal, oops, let me go back here for a second. King Alfonso's goal in building the cathedral was tourism. He wanted to attract pilgrims from all over the world, hoping to compete with Rome and Jerusalem for the best relics. And he did succeed. Walking pilgrims brought in a huge influx of faithful Christians and all their money, and they were a powerful tool in stemming the flow of Islam into Spain as well. And then it was said in the 9th century that St. James appeared as a warrior on horseback during a battle, and he displayed the red cross on his shield, and he helped the Christians to win a key battle. And since then, the red cross has gone on to represent St. James as well as the Crusaders, the Knights Templar, and St. James is also the patron saint of Spain, Guatemala, Nicaragua, and fishermen. The cross also decorates the scallop shell that every pilgrim carries or wears during their walk. And since I have done a taste of the Camino, which I'll talk about later, I do have my pilgrim shell. And it's a proud symbol that every pilgrim does own proudly. So when do you go? When is the best time to walk? April to October are the ideal months. That's when most tour companies will be offering their tours. But with August and September as the peak seasons, due to people having time off as well as weather. Oops, a little echo here. This is a map that shows a bit of the route again, and I just want to give you an idea of the climate as you go along here. This whole region, as it goes along the Atlantic Ocean, it has a very mild climate, which of course makes it popular for walking. And you really have rolling hills, forests, dirt and paved trails, cobblestone streets, and as you get closer to Santiago, it becomes much more urban with paved roads. What do you pack? Well, it depends on how you're doing it. If you're doing it independently, you pack one way. If you're doing it with a tour group, you pack another way. I think there's still a few folks that camp, and in which case you have even more gear. But let's start with the traditional gear of what the pilgrims have had for 1,000 years. There is, of course, the hat to shield you from the rain and the sun, the walking stick or bourdon, which I think many people now have the more high-tech walking sticks. There's the gourd or the calabeza, which is now symbolic. And it was used at one time to hold water. Now we've all got our high-tech Nalgene water bottles and camelbacks. And the scallop shell that you wear on your backpack or around your neck, as I showed you earlier. It was originally supposed to be used to scoop water from the stream so that you could drink, or when you got to your hostel, it was how you served yourself food. So, as I mentioned, when you go determines what you're going to be packing. So this was from online what one pilgrim recommended that you bring. Karen, in her presentation a bit later, is going into a bit more detail about what you bring on a Cosmos trip. I would say this does recommend what you would bring on a backroads trip if you do it. But the most important thing that you can have is a great pair of shoes. And if you're thinking about doing it, now's the time to start breaking in your shoes if you plan on maybe going later in 2021. I know I am breaking in my shoes now. So how do you prove that you did it? You have a passport that gets stamped that shows that you made every stop along the way. It looks a bit like this. And when I did my backroads trip, which was more of a taste of the Camino, we had a little sort of our own little book that we did. It was not an official booklet, but we still got to go ahead and get the stamps in it. That was fun. And I'll be talking a bit more about how you finish up and prove that you did it at the end. And then Karen's also going to be sharing a bit about how on the Cosmos trip, they will be getting your passport for you. The Camino has been featured in movies recently. I think it's a great way to find out what it's like. Most of them are featuring the full 500-mile French Way walk, as you might have seen in Martin Sheen's The Way. It's streaming on Amazon right now. If you haven't caught it before, it's a great way to get an idea of what the experience is like. There's also Walking the Camino. It's another movie that came out. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, there's a woman in here who does the Camino with her toddler in a stroller. She pushes her child 500 miles in a stroller. Kudos to her. So I highly recommend this one as well. There are a number of documentaries that you can find on Netflix, your library, other streaming services, even on YouTube. Why do people do it? I think that's the big question. Why would you set aside 10 to 45 miles of your 45 days of your life to do this? What inspires people to do it? I think it gives you time to reflect. And I think we've had a lot of time to reflect right now, but being able to do it outdoors while you're physically moving over a period of time, I think is something to consider. People do it to exercise. Some people just do it to say that they've done it. Maybe you want to spend some quality time with people you love, one of your children, a friend, one of your parents. Maybe you want to think about whether to get married or whether to get divorced. Maybe you want to think about stopping drinking. Maybe you are in recovery from cancer. Maybe you want to think about why you got fired. Maybe you want to ask for forgiveness, or to try to forgive someone, or to grieve for a loved one. On the backroads trip that I did, there were a number of people that were on the trip to sort of complete the grieving of loved ones in their lives. The other thing people do when they go on something like this is that they blog. Oh my gosh, there are hundreds of blogs on the internet now of everyone showing you all the different ways that you can do it. I can remember when I was first interested in the Camino, I had to go to a slideshow at an REI store with a slide projector, and the slides were awful and the information was so limited. Now there is so much information on how to do it. There are a million books out, and there is even a virtual app for those of you who may never do this. You may never get to Spain. It is called the Conqueror, the virtual challenge. You can download the Camino de Santiago app, and you can choose to do it where you just do the app, or you can do the app or the journey and the t-shirt. But basically what you do is every day that you walk, you log in your miles and you do a virtual Camino around your own community. So I have some friends that are doing this, and they're doing it with great pride. So it is another way to do the Camino. Albergues are the hostels that you can stay in. They're marked by the seashell outside. Generally, they are dormitory style rooms with communal dining, and the meals are very simple for pilgrims. The cost is by donation, whatever you can afford. It's generally around €10 per night, and they also include hot showers and a sink and a clothesline for washing clothes. Let's chat a bit about the elephant in the room, Camino and COVID. At this point now, Americans and citizens of many other countries are not allowed to enter Spain, and those provisions appear that they will be in place until May. There is a nighttime curfew, and people are only supposed to go outside for essential services. The Prime Minister says he envisions travel restrictions lasting until late summer, when it is estimated that Spain will have attained a 70% vaccination rate. Of course, the Minister of Tourism disagrees with this, and we shall see when Spain reopens again. Back in October of 2020, when the weather was still good and it was still possible to enter Spain, the flow of pilgrims had not stopped, but some things have changed. For one thing, you can't just drop in on a hostel anymore. You have to make a reservation in advance, and this is an idea of some of the different hostels where you can make reservations. There's social distancing in the dining rooms, no more communal dining. And in the town of Lyon, because they closed themselves to pilgrims, they offered a bus that would pick you up outside of Lyon and shuttle you around the outside of Lyon. You can see where they are on the trail. It would shuttle you around the outside of it. And they took this into account with your stamps. I don't know what the situation is right now. With winter, there's not that many pilgrims. I'm pretty sure the bus is not operating to bring you around Lyon, which I know is under lockdown. So we shall just have to see how things unfold with this. But the pilgrimage has been happening for 1,000 years, and it will be here for 1,000 more. So let's just focus on the time when travel comes back and you are able to decide when you want to go and how you want to do it. Because quite frankly, the Camino is made for social distancing. You can do it yourself, absolutely. Thousands of people do on their own. But if you'd like to be a part of a tour group, there are companies that do this. I want to share a little bit about the Backroads trip that I did. Backroads is a luxury biking and hiking company. I know we probably have a lot of people on the call who have done Backroads trips. It's a 6-day trip that they offer from April to October. And I did this in 2016. This is for people who are looking to see if they like doing a pilgrimage. And it offers you a chance to walk on some of the prettiest parts of the Spanish Camino or the Portuguese Camino. Then you're shuttled up to finish out with the Spanish part of the Camino, and you enter into Santiago de Compostela like a pilgrim. We're also going to talk a little bit, Karen's going to chat about Cosmos and how they do this. They begin their trip in Sarria, as well as you can start in Madrid or you can join the trip up there, but I'll leave that to Karen to talk more about that. Back to Backroads. On the Backroads trip, you start in Porto, which is renowned for their port wine and river cruising. And with Backroads, you do this route here. You start inland, and then you make your way along the coast here. And then we do these last few days in here on the route. It wasn't an official pilgrimage because we only did a total of 48 miles, not the 62 miles or 100 kilometers that you need to do to make it official. On a Backroads trip, they have 3 leaders. You stay in 4- and 5-star hotels. They shuttle all of your luggage from place to place, and you only carry a backpack or a day pack as you walk your 10 to 13 miles a day. And if you don't want to walk that day, the leaders will shuttle you. They'll give you a boost, shuttle you to the hotel, whatever you want to do. There is one leader that walks with the group, and generally at the back of the group, but you don't have to walk as a group. You can go at your own pace. Meals are included. It's fine dining, bountiful breakfast, gourmet picnic lunches. This is very different than doing it on your own and staying in the hostels. In the Portuguese portion of it, here I am at the start of the Portuguese portion. We did about 30 miles a day, and it is a hilly but manageable terrain, sort of a dry Southern California climate, small villages, and some fun photo ops all along the route. Just beautiful scenery as we walked, farms and animals to say hello to. I just have to share a funny story. On day 2 in the Portuguese route, there was a dog that joined us on our trip. And he walked like 3 miles with me and the little group that I was walking with. And then suddenly I turned around and he was gone. And I wondered, does this dog do this every day with pilgrims? Is this like his thing? I'll never know. So if you ever do the Backroads trip and the dog follows you, please let me know. We also walked on the coastal Camino route, and it was a full day of stunning ocean views that are all along the route here. And we finish out that day in the town of Bayona. Where do these yellow arrows come from? There was a radical Spanish priest in the 1980s who took it upon himself to drive around in a car full of paint, or a car loaded up with buckets of paint, and he marked all of the yellow arrows along the routes. Many credit him with reviving the tradition among young people today. Then we were shuttled. Oh, and here are some of the arrows that he did. Sorry about that. Then we were shuttled into Spain, and we walked the last 2 days of the route. We did it in one day, and we were shuttled by back roads in, and you can see how much different the terrain is in this area. It's more forested, it's cooler, farms, but now we're getting close to the Camino. We're getting ready to finish, and the yellow arrows disappear, the roads and sidewalks become paved, and we start looking for these brass markers in the ground that lead us towards Santiago. Okay, now I'm within 1,000 meters. And unbelievably, people have taken it upon themselves to station themselves as bagpipers at the entrance into the Camino sort of complex. And while I was there, the guy was playing the Star Wars theme on his bagpipe. Da, 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 da. So that is what is echoing in my head as I make my way through this tunnel. The sound was excellent, very strange. And mainly what you're doing is you're entering through this tunnel across this plaza. This is the cathedral here. You'll make your way around until you finish in this great plaza here. And this is the finish point. What you've been building up to, whether you've just been doing this for a few days or for 1,000 miles, this is where you finish. Everyone has their moment here at the finish line. My group gathered for a photo. And then you get in line because you need to have, if you're doing this as an official pilgrimage, you need to have your Compostela certified by the Catholic Church. There is a mass in the evening. It's at 6 o'clock every night inside the church. I don't know how this will be handled with COVID and once Spain reopens again. But during the mass, and I'm sure you might have seen some videos of this, there is a massive incense burner that is 135 pounds. It's 5 feet tall. It hangs on thick chains from the ceiling, and special priests set it in motion, swinging back and forth until it reaches an arc of almost 200 feet and speeds of up to 45 miles an hour. And while it is swinging, the names of every pilgrim who came in that day are read aloud, and then they have to stop it. There are some great videos online of this, and I did witness it, and it's a magnificent sight to see, and it will be on the Cosmos trip as well for you to finish there. Then that night you celebrate. On the Backroads trip, we had a dinner at the Reyes de Católicos Parador that's right on the square there, but you can also have amazing meals in the little cafes that surround, and everyone finishes up with the almond cake. There is one more step that you can do. You could go out to Finisterre, the 0 mark, which was considered to be the end of the world. And Backroads does not go out to Finisterre, but the Cosmos trip does. And I'll let Taryn tell you about this final trip, this final walk in the pilgrimage. I do want to complete the pilgrimage now that I've had a taste for it. So I have signed up for the Cosmos trip that Karen is going to be talking about, August 22nd through September 1st of this year. I hope Spain will be open. If anyone would like to join me, my brother and I are going, but there are many other dates that they offer as well. So now I think I will stop my screen share and I will turn it over to Karen, who will tell us a bit about the Cosmos trip. Karen, are you there? And we'll have you take it away.
Okay, and I will share my screen. Thank you, Diana.
Okay.
That was wonderful. I'm ready to go. I'm going to go with you. So let's get started here. So we are Globus, Cosmos, Avalon, and Monograms. You can see that at the bottom here. And the product that I'll be talking about today is the Cosmos program and for the Camino. We've been in business for over 92 years. We are a Swiss company, family owned, headquartered in Lugano, Switzerland. And all the products that we do have been organically developed. So we've designed everything ourselves. The family that started us in 1928 still owns us. We are privately held, and we are in 4th generation now. And finally, we have a lady who's heading up the company. So it's really kind of exciting for us. So Gemma is our CEO. And so I wanted to go through the itinerary itself, and Diana touched on it as well. And Globus and Cosmos are both land programs, as are the monograms. And Globus and Cosmos are considered escorted. So, and Cosmos probably more adventuresome, and 99% probably from people around the world, where Globus is primarily people from North America. Monograms is an independent program, and Avalon is our river cruise company, which started about 19 years ago. So on this program, we're going to be starting in Madrid. So you can go in early, stay late, whatever you want on that. And I'm going to move this a little bit out of the way so that we can see. You start in Madrid, that's the green, you have one night there, and you end in Madrid, so you have another night there. So it's up to you. You can either start in Madrid, start an extra night with a pre-night. You can, when you end in Madrid, you can stay extra nights. You choose, you just let Dimensions and Travel know what you want to do. So yes, Diana's correct. You could start in Sarria, but let's say, for instance, if you did start in Madrid, you would be met with a local guide there who will help you with any questions that you may have at your hotel. And you would then have a train, because your train is included, that takes you up to Sarria. And on return from Santiago de Compostela, your train is included in the pricing. Ours is a 11-day program, 10 nights, and it would include meals. It would include breakfast daily, as well as 8 dinners that are also included. The hotels also have private baths. They are very simple hotels. We're staying within the mainframe of the program, but providing all private facilities as opposed to those that would be shared or in dormitory style. The facilities also do not have porters or elevators. So you would be responsible for bringing your bags to the lobby each morning or up to your room in the evening. So that's a little bit staying within the feel and the ambiance of the whole experience. So we also will include here your pilgrim kit, and you will be receiving the pilgrim kit, which I'll talk about when we get to Sarria. So we're spending our first night, have a chance to relax after our long flight, make our way onto the train the next day, takes us up to Sarria for a night, on to Porto Miran, and you see all the single nights until you get to Santiago de Compostela, and you have 2 nights there, and then you'll have a full day excursion included in the program up to Finisterre and Muxia. So, and then returning back to Madrid on the return. So let's talk about a little of the few items that we have here. So that you would be experiencing. So you're going to a little town called Sarria from Madrid, and there are areas to visit when you're here. And there's it's the ruins of a medieval castle that are in the area. There's the convent of Madalena, and you'll have a chance to see the little city itself. On your evening, when you arrive here, you'll be met by the tour director. Yes, there is a tour director who's available, mainly just to be a backstop for you in case you had any questions or whatever. And you will have a briefing this evening in Sarria to prepare you for your trip. The do's and the don'ts, and you'll receive your pilgrim kit, which also will include a small little guidebook, and you'll also get the official pilgrim passport, that's your credential, as well, that you need to have stamped. And then you'll also have a scallop shell and extra ponchos, some small items to get you started with your medical kit. You can also see in the lower right-hand corner something called Cosmos Go. You will have on your phone, yes? Can someone hear me? Can you hear me? You'll have everything available on your phone. So before you leave home, you will have your documents on your phone. You just have to download the Cosmos Go app on your phone. You don't need internet for it. It's all push technology. So it's like GPS. And you'll have data, you'll have information about restaurants, you'll have historical information about the areas that you're seeing, everything. So you'll have that available through the program itself. So let's get started. This is the itinerary we're going to be following for the program to take you into Santiago. So we're starting in Sarria, and from Sarria all the way to Santiago de Compostela, it's B to A in this situation. You will cover about 72 miles, so we're meeting the requirements in order to get a certificate. And you'll have your overnights as laid out in the itinerary itself. So here's just a shot of it's a folding, a multi-fold passport for you that requires signatures. So this is kind of important, and you'll be getting a stamp at each place that you go to, okay? The other part too is when you start your walk, bathrooms, where are the bathrooms? Bathrooms are every few kilometers. So you wanna pace yourself through the whole walk itself. You're in 6 stages. You'll be going through 6 stages of this. And we recommend that about every 2 to 3 hours, you might want to take about a 10-minute rest. That might be a good way to do it, because the assumption is that you are preparing for the walk itself. There are days when you're doing 6 to 7 miles, and there is one day when you'll be doing about 13, 14 miles. So that's the longest one that you'll have in here. So we start our walk. We start off with a breakfast, usually around 8 o'clock in the morning. So you'll have a hearty breakfast. You should have your bags in the lobby at 8:30. And you'll leave the hotel around 9 o'clock. You just go off on your own. You do not have to wait and go with anybody else. You can just start and be there. If you have any questions or you have any queries about what the weather's like or what you should take, in your backpack, we would suggest that you do take some small items with you, such as a poncho, and as well as just some small items like a water bottle. And you want to take a little bit of a first aid, a small first aid kit with you, because you never know where you might get a blister or whatever. So I'll get into the packing overall as we get further into the program. So you'll be walking and walking. And if you decide you don't want to walk the full amount for that day, or you want to go from one point to the next point, just notify the tour director and they'll help you with transportation. Your bags have been brought down to the lobby, as I mentioned before. They will be taken to the next hotel for you, so you won't have to carry that. And as Diane said, you'll just be carrying back. Since I'm mentioning your bags, I will mention what you should pack there. It's you're allowed one 44-pound piece of luggage that's obviously packed, and walking shoes, most important. The best ones are the tried and true ones that are very supportive. Waterproof is always good. Waterproof hiking boots are always good. We do suggest that you take a pair of sandals or something like that. So when you do want to rest, you can rest your feet. Socks, be sure the socks do not have seams in them and that they're cotton. That makes a big difference for the walkers as they go through their various stages. First aid kit, basic ones such as the Band-Aids, the Vaseline, and then clothing for the seasons. Your highest point is going to be about 3,000 feet. So fabrics that insulate, layers, etc. Diane mentioned the walking stick. We suggest that it's a collapsible walking stick because on your way home and the airlines may not allow you to bring a full-size stick. So it should be a collapsible one. And of course, bring your own water bottle. The water is okay when you're in Spain through the taps, but not necessarily through, please, not the ponds and the natural resources that are there. So let's move on. You'll be seeing some of the bridges. You'll be seeing a lot of the bridges that you'll be crossing. And as you prepare for your expedition here, we suggest that you build up your stamina for walking, unless you do that already, and maybe do one day that's maybe around 13 miles, 12, 13 miles, and then you'll be ready for this particular trip. This is the bridge that takes you in Puerto Marin, one of the stops that you'll see after Sarria. There's always side trips, and I like to talk about the side trips because there's one that you'll do when you're going along the way. It's on your day 5, and you'll see signs for it. You'll also see it on your Go app, your Cosmos Go app on your phone, and it's the Monastery of Our Savior of Vilar de Donas. And you'll want to go here. It's probably one of the most beautiful areas to visit on the Camino. It's worth a visit to just check out the architecture. It's a jewel of Roman art, and also the Gothic paintings. And they depict a very refined and courtly artistic style there. This area flourished in the 15th century. And interestingly enough, a very important year happened, and that was 1434. It was a holy year. What's a holy year? That's the Jacobean year. That's the year when, as Diana mentioned, St. James Day is on the 25th of January. Well, in the Jacobean year, the holy year, that means that day falls on a. So there was a big event and a lot of celebration. So definitely noteworthy to take a little side trip and visit this particular monastery. There are also several tombs of the Knights Order of Santiago here. It was a priory, and it was very dependent upon Santiago. So just a little side bit there. And then we're going to make our way to Arzua, which is further along on our trip. Actually, we're coming into Santiago at this point, and it's famous for its cow's milk. So you can see the cheese in the lower left-hand corner here. You might want to try that. This is a really big area for more cows than people, actually. And it's currently, and has been for many years, inhabited by mostly people of Basque extraction. And this is really our big last stopping point before the long day trek into Santiago de Compostela. Let's talk about the foods, which of course we're going to be trying a lot of the seafoods, and as well as some of the meats, pork, veal, chorizo, and then also some for vegetarians like the tortilla de patatas, and then also whatever fresh vegetables are available, and you will see quite a few along the way with the farms, etc. Then for dinner, for dessert, we do have our wines. There are wines in the area. You're in that countryside, and there is a liqueur, which is a coffee liqueur that you'll have with your dessert of maybe fruits, or these are the macaroons from that this particular Galicia area that you're going to be visiting. And of course, as Diana mentioned, the torta de Santiago you'll have as well. It's an almond cake. I mentioned the wine regions here, and you'll have a chance to sample those every evening or whenever you are interested or just want to try it. Chocoli is this one on the left side here, very prominent in the area. Bierzo is an important region. It's a region that does red wines as well as white wines here, and a variety that you'll certainly want to try locally. And then we, of course, come into Santiago, and you can see the cathedral here on this day. We made our way here. So we're going to be spending 2 nights in the area, And we're going to be talking about, in a moment, a little bit about the certificate and all the requirements. But spend your first night and you're going to have a chance to also take in the ends of the world. So you're going to go to Finisterre as well as Muxia. It's a full day excursion. You'll have a chance to take it all in. So you'll have a coach. You'll get a chance to ride out here. You'll get a chance to walk as well. And it's the westernmost point of the Iberian Peninsula. And for many pilgrims, they feel they have to walk a portion of this in order to totally complete the way. But also, after having completed the way, a lot of the pilgrims will traditionally burn their boots here as just significance of finishing and completing a very important experience. And there we go with Muxia. So we make our way back to Compostela, and here is where we're going to talk about the certificate itself. So you completed the 100 kilometers. That's what's required when you're walking. And you would be looking for this. This is the certificate you want to have. And what do you have to do in order to obtain this? You have to present your stamped passport. Now, every day that you, in the towns that you visit, every day you have to have one stamp per day, okay? And where do you get those? And in restaurants, in churches, in bars, throughout the villages that you visit. But on the last day, as you're making your way into Santiago de Compostela, you need to do 2 stamps, that last part of it, that last 100. And it will be required when you submit this over at the cathedral office. And we will help you and show you areas that you can go to in order to obtain your certificate. But it is your responsibility to have all the stamps taken care of and to present your documents accordingly. So something very important, I mentioned it before, in 1434, I think was the year, and that is in 2021, it will be the Jacobean year again. And it only happens, as I again repeat, when St. James Day falls on a Sunday. So the next time it will happen will be in 2027. And what occurs is that the doors open, the special doors on the eastern side of the cathedral, and they're open for the year. And you would have a chance to have all your sins forgiven on this particular day. And you would have it anyway, but this makes it for a very special year to do it. You would be required to attend Mass that evening, as well as have a prayer session too. To complete it, if this is your plan, then do some planning in advance, because there are bookends to this. And that means that before you start your expedition onto the way, 15 days prior, you need to go to confession. And then 15 days after, within 15 days after, you would need to go to confession. So that would complete the whole process and allow you to be forgiven for your sins completely. So this is what we call plenary indulgence, and it applies in the Jacobean year. You can also do it, the one that I just illustrated is the one you could do for the Jacobean year. All sins are forgiven. If you do it during a time when it's not during the Jacobean year, when it's another year, 2022, you decide to do it, that's fine as well. So you just have to attend a Mass, the Pilgrim Mass that Diane mentioned, as well as be sure to go to one of the prayer sessions that are there. The bottom here, I want to point out to you, is the Flor de Santiago. This is the flower of the area, and you can see why it is. It's beautiful red, but it's also shaped as a cross. And I thought that would be something that you would find interesting. I did. So what to expect when you're traveling with us? So you'll have fellow travelers that are screened, you'll have temperature checks, you have touch points, etc. So everything here is really important. We follow all procedures and protocols. As far as your food goes, though it does say buffets in the brochures and in any of the flyers, right now we're observing it as being anywhere you go, you do not need to touch the food, you would have table service on that. Your luggage would be sanitized, and that's an important piece. Masks would be worn not only by us from Globus and Cosmos. Our team would be required to submit all of their health before they would be able to participate in the program, and they would not be assigned to the program until all of the documentation is cleared by the company. So you can see again, you have your your Cosmos Go that will help you with all the information you need. We do ask that you wear your mask and you observe the 6 foot distancing, which is very easy to do on this program, and you have a wonderful time. But know that we're there. We're there just as a safety net for everything. We're not there to intrude on your plan for whatever you are doing this for, even if it's just to really enjoy the countryside and to take in all of the culture that you will when you're here. More details, just go to Dimensions in Travel, ask anybody, and they will be able to provide all the information that you need. And that's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Karen, for the information. And I know we ran a little bit long today, so if you all have any questions that you've got about doing the Camino your way, please reach out to your travel advisor. Our contact information is on the screen there. Welcome to go to our website and reach out to us that way as well. But if you've always thought about doing the Camino, we would certainly love to have you join us on it. Jill, you want to say a little farewell?
I would love to say
Okay.
farewell, and looking forward to Diana's great trip coming up later this year, and encourage everybody to sign up and travel with her. It'll be lots of fun, as well as, I'm sure, inspiring in many ways. And Karen, thank you so much. That was delightful and so informative. I think all of our heads are just spinning with all the information. So thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Absolutely, everyone. Bon Camino, as we would say on the way. Have a good way. Bye-bye now.